Long-term relationships tend to make men weak for some reason. Even the most alpha of males, once they get into a long-term relationship, start to become weak. I'll never forget my first long-term relationship. I'll tell you what, you go with my girl, okay, and you go for a walk around the block. And by the time that you guys walk around the block, when we go and we meet with them, I will have made out with your girlfriend. Wait a minute. On this channel, I teach you everything you need to know basically to transform your life and to live your full potential as a man today. Let's start off by talking about my story, a little bit about what happened to me. I'll never forget my first long-term relationship. I met this girl and we instantly connected, and we talked for hours. We'd chat over AOL Instant Messenger, and it was great. Before this happened, I was at the top of my game, all right? I was in really good shape. I was lifting, eating clean, going to the gym, working hard on my career. At that time, I was a software developer, and I was basically living life like a boss. I felt this really deep sense of connection. And I remember telling my best friend about it, and this guy, okay, he was a bit wiser than me. He had a little bit more experience with women at this time. Again, at this time, I was pretty young. He doubted her loyalty. And we went back and forth, and I talked about how wonderful she was and all these things, right? And he could see, I think he could probably see the changes happening in me already. He was starting to see me weaken, and so he was kind of challenging me on that. What ended up happening is we went out this one time, and this isn't my favorite story to tell. There was a lot of pain behind this at the time, but he had this girl that he was seeing, and they were friends. So we went out downtown, and he basically said, you know what, John, I'll test something for you. I'll tell you what, you go with my girl, okay, and you go for a walk around the block. And by the time that you guys walk around the block, when we go and we meet with them, I will have made out with your girlfriend. Wait a minute, you're crazy. There's no way she's super low. I don't even want to do that. It just sickens me. Fast forward a little bit here. We go out, we go downtown, and he makes up some excuse. He's like, oh yeah, I want to talk to you for a second, and so I go with this girl, we're talking and walking around the block. She's asking me questions about him and stuff like that. And then, I kid you not, we walk around the block, and I literally see him making out with my girl right there against the wall. And I was shocked. It just broke me. It broke me in half. I mean, I literally was just completely distraught. The reason why I'm telling you the story is because of what I did next. As soon as this happened, right, she immediately was shocked, and she was embarrassed, and she apologized profusely. She's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. I'm really, really, really sorry. And I immediately forgave her. Once I forgave her, she started kind of distancing herself from me, right? She was like, and then it got to the point where not only did I forgive her, but I found myself trying to communicate with her, trying to go after her, and eventually apologizing to her for letting the whole thing happen. Not really telling her the full thing about the challenge and all of this stuff, but basically apologizing to her, and that was pretty much the end of it. And when I looked at myself, and I look at this in retrospective, I was like, wow, I became super, super weak. And I hadn't started out that way, but that long-term relationship had caused me to become weak. In order to understand that, we need to start off by talking about what you're doing when you're first trying to attract a woman. You're trying to attract her. You're competing with other men, okay? So you're trying to attract a woman. It doesn't have to be necessarily this specific one, but at least when you're single, you're going out there and you realize that you have competition. You realize that you have to improve yourself, and you're trying to do that. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily seeking external validation, but you do realize that it is a game and there is a competition, and you are playing that game, and so you're competing in that field. You're trying to attract her attention to some degree. You're trying to show off to some degree, and you're building yourself, and that's the more important thing. You're going to the gym, you're working out, you're doing all these things. If you're successful, okay, you're probably doing something right, but it is to some degree competing. Other men are competition to you. Once you have her, here's the question, is what do? You assume that she's loyal because she's just as in love as you are, okay? This is the assumption that I made in my story, and it's a wrong assumption, guys. It's not a good assumption, because there's a difference between the way that men and women love. Men tend to have more of that romantic, loyal type of love, and women tend to love you when you're the winner. And this is a hard reality for most men. So that loyalty that they have is not the same loyalty that women have. In the biological perspective, there's probably some good reasons for this. Needless to say, guys, that women do not love unconditionally, kind of like how you would necessarily. It's more about who you are and the value that you are. And if you're no longer valuable as a man, that love is going to disappear. A lot of guys get into long-term relationship. They're like, okay, I don't no longer have to be this guy anymore. I can just kind of let my guard down, drop the gloves here, and you stop doing the things that were making you that top dog. You get what I call fat and happy, okay? You stop going to the gym, you start eating shit, and you just start becoming lazy because you're happy. You're getting a lot of sex, okay? You're in this relationship, things are good. You're not striving anymore. When you're hungry, okay, and you're going after, and you're like, I want to go land that girl, I want to go and not be single anymore, if that's your goal, you're striving, you're making sure that you're staying on top, you're watching your diet, maybe you're working out, you're trying to watch how you dress, and all these things, you're trying to improve yourself, whether it should be for you, but it might be to catch that girl. It doesn't matter. Either way, you stop doing those activities. You start trying to make her happy and avoid a disruption in sex. You start to realize that if the girl ain't happy, you ain't gonna get laid, and so you try to mitigate that by keeping her happy. So you start doing all these kind of beta behaviors and trying to please her and trying to make her happy so that there's no disruption, and so you don't get a disruption in sex because you're hooked on the drug. What actually happens though is it actually backfires on you because it makes her less attracted to you and makes you seem weak, which makes it so that she doesn't want to have sex with you. In fact, all that she wants to do is wield it as a weapon, and the more that she wields it as a weapon and denies it to you, the more that you want it, the weaker that you are, and that causes you to become weak. Not only are you getting fat and happy, okay, you're not going to the gym anymore, you're not competing in an alpha way anymore, but now you're being needy and sort of begging for it, and you're like being a pleaser person. You've completely changed your status from high status male, alpha male, to beta weak male, and you can see why this happens. Before we start talking about how you can avoid this, we need to start off by talking about where you are right now. So I have a Bulldog mindset quiz that's going to give you a score of basically how alpha you are right now. Go ahead and click up in the cards up here. There's just 10 questions. It'll be really quick, but you'll get a score there, and that's going to tell you where you are right now. But let's talk about how you can avoid it in general. So the first thing is, don't make a girl the focus of your life. The reason why a lot of guys get into this trap is because they basically meet a girl, they get into a long-term relationship, and they put her on a pedestal and they make her the focus of their life, their primary focus, and then all the other things start to drop down to number 2 and number 3. A girl should always be second place in your life. Your purpose, okay, your mission in life should always be number 1. No matter what, your mission should be number 1. A really good book, again, I've recommended this quite a few times, but The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. Make sure you read that book or get the audio version of that book. He talks about a lot of this stuff. The second thing that you should do is to stop trying to avoid conflict. You need to stand your ground, and you need to still pass your shit test. I know that in pickup and game, we talk about a lot the idea of passing shit tests. You're still going to get shit tests. Even in a long-term relationship, she's going to keep on probing to see where you are. She's going to push on you and see, okay, are you going to fall over? Are you going to be my little bitch? And if you are, then she's going to keep on mowing over you. She wants a man that's going to be strong, is going to stand against her. Doesn't mean getting angry, doesn't mean like throwing a fit and being all emotional. It means that you're just going to be unaffected by that you're not going to let her get away with some bullshit. So don't tolerate her bullshit and don't walk on eggshells. Third one here is to set the direction of the relationship from the beginning. You are the king. You want to be an alpha male, you want to be a masculine man, you're the king in the relationship. Don't accept any other compromises. Don't accept anything. From the very beginning, you set the terms like that. And if she doesn't accept those terms, if you're not the king, she's not treating you like the fucking king, then you don't get into a long-term relationship. You have to be firm in that. How you start it is how it will progress. If you start a relationship in a way that she's sort of mowing over you, or there's this kind of, whatever the dynamic is, right, it's only going to go more that direction. I have known a lot of guys that have been in relationships and with even the same girl, and the difference in how she behaved was how they behaved. For one of them, they treated the guy like a king. For the other one, they treated him like a fucking peasant. All right, so if you want to be treated like a peasant, allow it. If you want to be treated like a king, demand it. You vote with your feet. That's how you walk. You walk away. You say, I'm not going to enter a situation where I'm not being treated like the king. What if you're already in the situation? How do you fix it? How do you turn this around? How do you gain your balls back and take them out of that jar? So start working on yourself. Go back to the gym again, okay? Start doing personal development, okay? Start eating clean, working out, working on your career, starting a business. I've got the Bulldog Mindset membership. You can join us. It's not very expensive, guys, but that's what we focus on. Even if you don't join the membership, I know that some of you might not be able to afford it now, that's fine. The big thing is that you do work on yourself. Start improving yourself, your status starts to go up. It automatically is gonna give you some level of respect. The second thing is to establish standards and boundaries. What happened when you became weak is you let your standards go and you you've basically let someone trample all over your boundaries. So you need to restore those. I don't get talked to like this. I don't get treated like this. I don't allow people to do this to me in my life. And you're not just setting the standard and the boundary for the woman that you're in a long-term relationship with, but for people in general, because she's going to watch how you deal with other people. Don't let people walk on you anymore. Go ahead and stand up for yourself and set those boundaries. And when people violate your boundaries, you know what you do? You walk away. The next thing that you do is you stop asking permissions and stop being a peacemaker. Maybe you're not going to get laid. Well, so what? You're not going to be a peacemaker anymore. When there's a conflict, if you disagree with something, you're going to say it. And you're going to say it, and she's going to try and she's going to be really upset that you're standing up for yourself. She's going to test you hard. Don't get upset. Don't yell. Don't scream. Don't be a little bitch and get emotional about it. Just have your standard, have your boundary, and stay with it, and don't try and make the peace. Instead, allow conflict to exist and stop asking permission. Stop doing things and asking for permission for things. Final thing is be 100% willing to walk, but don't threaten it. So many guys, they think they're being strong by threatening that they're going to walk. Yeah. You just walk. All right? You just make it very clear in your actions that if you're not getting what you want, if you are having your boundaries violated and your standards are not being upheld, that you are going to walk, and you don't have to threaten it. You just do it. It's not about the action, it's more about the willingness, and that willingness will come across. Who's powerful in the negotiation? The person who's willing to walk. All right? Whoever is willing to walk has the most power. So you have to be willing to walk, and you have to be willing to pay whatever price that is going to cost you in order to be willing to walk.